move on to the linebacker class, Ryan. For the second straight year, in my opinion, Notre Dame signed one of the 5 best linebacker classes in the country. I think it's absolutely indicative of how the rankings work, that when Peyton Bowen and Jaden Osbury committed to Notre Dame, they're both considered around top 50 prospects by just about everybody.
Yep.
And over the course of the next year, despite both having phenomenal senior seasons, they all continue to drop in the rankings all year, and not a spot or two, to where a couple people don't even have Peyton Bowen in the top 200 anymore, which is just insane to me. Or Drake Bowen in the top 200 anymore.
Yeah.
Which is just insane to me. Just further evidence of, and it's not even just about Notre Dame. It's kids that happen. This happens to other schools, but it definitely seems to happen to Notre Dame quite a bit. Is how you could view Drake Bowen. Now, not everyone, right? And that's again, it's we haven't talked about it in a while, Ryan, but it's further evidence of just the weird variance in rankings that Notre Dame kids have right now. I mean, you look at Drake Bowen, and he's ranked number 45 by Rivals. And what's funny is Rivals actually they all have ranked some kids higher than others, but like Rivals is much higher on Brendan Vernon and Drake Bowen than everybody else, while other people have them lower. But Rivals has Drake Bowen 45th. ESPN has him 80th. 24/7 Sports has dropped them down to 156, and On3 has him at 220. Jaden Osbury, when he committed Notre Dame, was a borderline 5-star recruit. ESPN still has him number 58, but now Rivals has dropped him down to 205, and On3 has him at 193, and then 247 has dropped him down to number 243. Now, the one thing I like about Rivals is at least Rivals leaves their history of rankings in their system. And when you go back and look at where Jaden Osbury was when he first got started, you remember he committed to Notre Dame in August, right?
Yep.
In March of 2021, he was ranked as the number 24 player in the country.
Wild.
They did an update in November of 2021. He was 27. Then he was 33, 39. And then in the rankings that came out right before he committed Notre Dame, he was ranked number 80. That was in July. And then they dropped the ranking right after he committed, which also came after he was the best linebacker, that Future 50 thing. They dropped him down in the very next ranking. He was 80th. He committed to Notre Dame on August 4th. They had a rankings release that came out August 16th. He dropped to 196th. So here's the deal. You want to talk about why I say this is a bunch of bunk? So they did a rankings release in November of 2021, which is by the time his junior season was over. And he was ranked 27th in the country. They had a rankings release in February, May, June, and August. He played 0 football games in that stretch of time. 0 football games. So first of all, why are you doing 4 rankings changes in the course of a period where their guys play 0 football? He had just gone to an ESPN, or not the ESPN, but the Under Armour Future 50 event, right? Where he was by many people thought was the best, one of the 1 or 2 best linebackers there. And 12 days after he commits to Notre Dame over LSU, he drops over 100 spots in the rankings without playing a single football game. And then he comes out this year, he dominates, and now in the most recent rankings in December 6th, he's dropped all the way down to 205. And I'm supposed to believe that there's not a bias to the rankings there.
Well, and
right?
They know that it exists too. I mean, I don't know if you saw Drake Bowen's post yesterday, Brian, but it was talking about, someone talked about the rankings drop, and then he retweeted, he just said, and none of us got worse at football or something like that.
Right.
And I was like, exactly. So right, man.
Exactly.
Because Brian, it's not like these are two. Look, Drake Bowen just won the Buckus Award, man, as the best linebacker in all of high school football. He was Mr. Football in the state of Indiana. Just had a dominant senior year. Jaden Osbury just set University Lab's all-time leading record in total tackles for the program that has put out guys like Dylan Moses and other great players historically.
Completely outplayed Arch Manning in that matchup, who they have as a top 5 player. I believe actually, don't they have Arch number 1?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So hold on. When did so Braylon James commits to Notre Dame in April. He had gotten a bump all the way up to number 67, commits to Notre Dame. That very next ranking, which came out like a couple weeks after that, he drops to 77, then all the way down. They come out with another ranking. May 17th, he's at 77. They have another ranking that comes out a month later, played 0 football, and he dropped from 77 to 205. Based on what?
It's not based on anything.
That's not, well, they saw a couple guys and a couple guys just passed him. So he commits to Notre Dame as a top 100 recruit, and then they drop him to a 200 basically less than 2 months later.
Yep.
Right? So the reason we're talking about this now at the linebacker class is because this is an A class.
Yes.
I don't care what anybody says. And the fact that they were both ranked that high when they committed to Notre Dame, because remember, if y'all don't remember this, for a long time, people thought Drake Bone was going to go south.
Yes.
Clemson, Alabama, they thought he was going to go south because he's not a native of Indiana. He's a native of Texas.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, we were the only ones really saying that Notre Dame was a team that was going to have a chance to go out and get Peyton or Jaden Osborne. A lot of people were saying it was Michigan, it was Texas A&M, a lot of people like that, right? LSU might get him. And we said, now we think Notre Dame's in a really good place here. And then as soon as he commits to Notre Dame, his ranking drops over 100 spots. 2 weeks after he commits to Notre Dame, it drops 100 spots. These are top 100 football players, Ryan.
Yes.
There's no doubt about it. These are top 100 football players.
I think that they might be top 50 players. Like, I think they might be. I mean, I think Drake Bowen is absolutely a top 50 football player, and I think Jaden Osbury is right in that conversation as well. I truly do, man. Again, the accolades, again, like the accolades don't mean everything, but when you are voted the best linebacker in high school football, that means something, guys, right? Like, that means something. That means that you're the best nationally. So, yes, I think Drake Bowen's a top 50 guy. I think Jaden Osbury is a borderline top 50 guy. And we don't talk about Preston Zinter, who just had a really nice year for Central Catholic as well. I mean, he had 116 tackles this year and led his team deep into the playoffs. Like, he's a good football player as well.
He was like a top 250 caliber guy.
100%. And he gives you some versatility where if you have numbers clash at Viper eventually, maybe he's that guy that can step down and play on the ball a little bit. He's a good tight end, man. He's a real good tight end. Yeah. Yep. So when you put all that together, man, and they fit well together too, right, Brian? Because it's like if Jaden starts out as a Rover, for instance, right? Drake's your Will, Preston's your Mike, and it makes a ton of sense, right? Like, those guys all have different skill sets. They all play pretty well in space, which is great for the modern game. But I think that they all fit well together, fortunately for them.
Here's another one, Ryan. Preston Zinter committed to Notre Dame on February 11th. He was ranked as the number 214 player in the country in the rankings before that. The next two rankings, he dropped down to 219. He dropped down to 223. He is now not only not in the top 250. That's fine. 219 to out of the top 250. That's possible. You see more film, more kids break out. Happens all the time. He's now a 3-star on Rivals.
It's awesome, man.
Based on what? Based on what?
Is Micah Bell still a 3-star and like the 67th ranked player?
On 3? Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Let me see where they have him ranked. It's really bad. They have him as the number 90 player in the state of Texas. Yeah.
Oh, he dropped. They dropped him further.
To 64 at corner. Yeah.
That's insane, man. It must be the best corner group in the history of the world. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yep. So the linebacker position like just epitomizes what we talk about. When you say, "Oh, there's no bias," yes, there is. I just showed it just some anecdotal evidence of that right there. Right. So this is a really good class. I think it fits well together. My question early on was, who can be a Mike? I think Drake Bone can flat out be a Mike now. He even to me, he even looks more and more like he said yesterday, like Will, but then he said, but they can move around. I view him as a Mike really, with what this defense is trying to do. He's a bigger, faster version of JD Bertrand. I mean, if we're being honest about it, I mean, as far as how he plays, and then Jaden Osbury it looks more and more like a Will to me. We kind of rover Will. Growing. Yeah. He could be a Mike too if he can get up to 225. You know what I mean? He just got to be able to get up, just put a little bit of weight on. But as a Will, he doesn't need to be 230 pounds to play Will.
He could definitely play. He could be the N'Kobe Dean type of Mike in the system potentially, for sure. Yep, agree.
Yep. So I love this linebacker class. It fits well together. It fits with what they did last year. I think a third was you could have got away with 2 if Josh Burnham was still a linebacker.
Sure,
but I think you needed 3 now when you move Burnham there. And now you're talking about a situation where you may end up moving JD Junior to Alamaka there too. Then you definitely needed 3.
Yes.
you're going to stop Jalen Sneed and Nolan Ziegler at linebacker, but you definitely needed this 3-man haul this year at linebacker. So met the needs, they fit the defense. They want kids that can run and hit. And that's the thing I said about both of them. They can run and they can hit. And that's what both of those kids can do. And Preston Zinter's a good athlete. Again, I just haven't seen enough of him as a linebacker to feel great about just how he fits. But he's long. He's a quality athlete. He's physical. He's versatile. Yep. There's a lot of things he can do well. He's a good player, but he's just, to me, he's not quite the high-level player that other guys are.
And you also have some question marks about him playing a traditional stack backer, to your point, because he, fortunately and unfortunately for Central Catholic, he's the dude on that defense, right? So he's playing on ball, he's playing in space, he's playing tight end. So he's asked to do a lot of things, but he has the traits to do it. It's just about seeing it, actualizing that talent.